there's nothing like a good motherfucker to like really get it out, you know, like if I'm driving, if I'm aggravated with somebody.
6Ks in a mic, we're done being quiet, breaking all the rules, starting up a riot, raw and real, no scripts to read. This is the honesty that women need.
Hello to everybody out there and welcome back to 6Ks in a Mic. Our episode is coming out to you guys a little bit late because in usual fashion, life happened. But here we are and we are excited to be back and talking with you all. Just as a reminder for anyone who might be new to our podcast, we are 6 sisters who grew up in the same family but across different generations and all had very different experiences. Today we thought we'd try and change it up a little bit and bring a new idea to you. So we have all found an article or something in the news that we find interesting, and we thought we'd bring it to the group for open discussion. So I think Carrie has been elected to go first with her article. So Carrie, why don't you take it away?
The title of the article is Why You Should Give a Damn About the Health Benefits of Swearing. And of course, this caught my eye because I was like, this is it's not a brand new article. It came out, I want to say this is from maybe 2023. Okay, so this was written June 2023. The author was Mark Lalanilla or Layania. I'm not sure, but New York Post. And so basically anything related to profanity and swearing caught my eye. And I've heard this before where I think I've heard some other articles talk about how people who swear are more intelligent. They have larger vocabularies. So I was like, what's this? So basically it talks about that researchers said some of the things that stuck out to me is that obscenities tend to fall into 3 different categories. So there's religion, like damn or hell, bodily excretions, like piss, shit, right?
Crap.
Crap.
Crap a swear word?
Oh, barf. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's not a swear word, but whatever. And then sex, it says. So, including our countless slang words for genitalia. So it says that they found that, swearing is obviously considered taboo. But almost that, part of this is maybe related to the fact that because they're taboo, there's something to that, saying that word because it's not a word you're supposed to say. And that there are many advantages of swearing. So it talked about women tend to swear more often than men. And I thought that was interesting.
That's interesting.
I thought that was interesting. Anybody have a thought about that?
I would say that I see lots of opportunity for women to swear more, right? I think we're put in situations where that's an appropriate response far more often than men are. I think that maybe sometimes we do it in our heads, or we do it in the car where no one else is with us, or we do it in the shower. But I would suspect that this is, always been the norm, that the majority of women do this more often than men.
Have more to swear about.
Yes, far more.
When you're swearing in your head, what do you say? Is that a work thing? Is that a
I think
family
we swear
thing,
more
or-
because of the men.
I think it is a work thing,
Can't say what you really
because
want
you
to
really
say.
want to say it, but you can't.
Yeah.
I don't swear in
Yeah.
my head. I just swear.
I think that is a generational difference. That's my opinion. That is my opinion.
I agree. You can swear at work. You just got to be careful who's around.
Correct. Yes. I'm not swearing to my patients, but I absolutely will swear amongst my colleagues.
Yeah, but to Kim's point, I do think that's generational. We were taught to don't say
Yeah.
those words. Just, so That is interesting.
And I will say, even like, so you guys know my daughter does not have a clean mouth. And I work with some people too who, like, it's just their household rule that, like, they say it. So I can't tell my kids not to say it, but our kids know the appropriate, like, Hattie doesn't swear at school, but she will drop an F bomb amongst those she is comfortable with, to probably much of our mother's chagrin. But so maybe you're right. 'Cause yes, I know other parents that are like, it's fine. I don't care if my kid swears as long as they do it in the appropriate setting.
That's funny because Cody tries to get Sailor to say a certain word all the time, and she gets so upset with him. She's like, no, because she knows it's wrong.
Well, but that's like Katie, your son will not do it, but your daughter, and they're living in the same house. So it's interesting.
Yeah, some of it I think is
No, I was just gonna say, but what I'm intrigued about is how this article is saying it's a health benefit. So I'm curious about that.
Why?
It's stress release.
Yeah, it makes you
Well,
feel
yeah.
better.
So they talk about so in a 2018 experiment, they say that physical strength might be augmented by using obscenities. They did a study where they had people um, uh, grip something, like squeezing, grip strength, and those that were able to repeat an obscenity, like they had half the group repeat an obscenity and half didn't, and those who were able to repeat the obscenity, their performance and power was greater. So I don't know. That's interesting. They also had another study where they had people hold their hands in icy water. And
Oh,
yeah. So certain volunteers, half the volunteers were allowed to repeat a swear word during the experiment, and the rest were only allowed to repeat a neutral word. Those in the swearing group were able to keep their hands in ice water longer than the non-swearers. So I don't know. That's just kind of
I
interesting
mean, come
to
on,
me.
you know, when you're feeling in those emotional states, like yelling a solid fudge, it feels a lot better than yelling like poo.
Oh my
I don't know.
goodness.
Like,
But I'm curious. So is it yeah, but is it the expression, or is it the expression of doing that and your attachment to the word, or is it the actual just saying the word and your meaning to the word? Like, which one is it? Or is it both of it?
I
it's
don't know.
got to be an attachment to the word, because otherwise you could argue any word you say
Sure.
could
Yeah.
give you that same outcome. So it
Yeah.
has to be some, connection to the specific word.
Like maybe it goes back to it being the taboo word or something, right? Like
Yeah,
that
right,
it's
right.
like taboo, and by saying that taboo word, you're like releasing something. I don't know.
Well,
know.
let's. I was going to say, let's think about the word fart for a second, because me, Kim, and Chris, and Kathy, when we were growing up, fart was not an acceptable word to say.
Yep.
So, like, we knew if we said that at home, Mom was
Fart
going to give us
was a bad word.
we don't say that. Yeah. And now fart is part of TV culture. So it's weird how they evolve. And
if you want to start looking at it that way, I mean, even look at politicians. You'll hear politicians drop
true.
swear words now while they're giving. Like, I feel like back in the day, you would have never heard that. I feel like culture is just shifting where it's become more socially acceptable to use these words.
And is that an American thing, or is it like this in Europe and other countries?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I really don't know about
Yeah.
culture in other countries and what is and isn't acceptable when it comes to swearing. That's a very good question. If anybody knows, please enlighten us.
Put it in the
'cause I have
comments.
no
Yeah,
idea.
enlighten us.
Well, here's another interesting thing they talk about in the article. They say that so first, like this person that they're talking to, they say like you can give somebody the middle finger or say "f you" across the street, and you don't have to go up in their face and have a confrontation, and it allows you to like vent your emotions. And it talks about the purpose of swearing is venting emotions, and there's an advantage to that, allowing you to cope with your emotions. It's like getting it out, right? So they talk about that this like lets the other person know very clearly how you're feeling. And it's very quick and clear. So it talks about intelligence. Research finds an association between that trait and the use of obscenities. So I don't know. It's really interesting. Really, really interesting.
So when you read it, what connected with you? Because you said, "Oh,
They
I found this article," and I'm like, "Ah,
they even referenced someone from Cleveland Clinic, which I thought was interesting. So what resonated with me? Well, I mean, listen, there's no I like a good F word more, I'm one that's again, I don't really I censor where I choose to use my sailor talk. Um, but I think it resonates with me the whole like release that is associated with when I say that word. Because to me it's like there's nothing like a good motherfucker to like really get it out, like if I'm driving, if I'm aggravated with somebody, if I'm frustrated with myself, if uh when I'm having like, system issues, any of that. I don't know, just feels good. And I think there's this negative connotation, like especially with women and swearing, and that's like not very ladylike.
Right.
Um,
For sure.
and I think I'm pretty ladylike. I think I have a lot of real feminine qualities, but I also like to
Or
swear.
Katie.
I swear
Why are you
more.
making a
Face.
face? Is she frozen?
No.
I swear more now because I hang around Carrie. Just saying.
It's wearing off.
So
yeah.
I have influenced you to swear?
In the mornings, I swear more.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Carrie, I think it's funny. I think you've got like a split personality. You absolutely can be very ladylike, but you've also got this other side that's like the complete opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah. It's like my alter ego.
What makes you lovable?
Wonder who
What
it
makes
is.
you you?
it's true." Me and Kelly were like, "Don't you say anything," and you guys seem to be a little more comfortable with being able to say whatever you want to say. So for sure, there's a wide range in that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that's because of mom, because mom was still very, when like growing up, like swearing was not acceptable with her.
I think it was a generational thing. People did not swear in
Yeah.
public like they do now when we were growing up. Like it just didn't happen. You would never hear a curse word out of a teacher or a boss or anything like that. It just would not happen.
Do you remember Grandma used to call a fart
What'd
a
she call
poopy
it?
doop? Yes, she did. Because you weren't allowed to say, "Oh, I farted." She's like, "Oh, I had a poopy doop."
That to me is worse than fart.
Yeah. I agree.
Poopy, like why do we gotta put like poop with it? Like that's to me, I don't know.
Maybe
I
she
don't
was,
know.
people say shart now, and a poopy doop, maybe it was a sharp. It's better than saying you sharted. I don't know.
It probably was a shark too. It probably was. Ugh. All right,
Stop
new
saying
article.
that.
Let's move on.
I think I'm gonna go next since I get to MC this episode. So mine, going back to Carrie's, we're gonna be using some swear words for mine, but my article came from Oprah Daily and was actually relatively recently published, I think in January of this year. It is written by a lady named Ellen Shear, who is a licensed clinical therapist who helps women over 40 rebuild their lives when the old version stops fitting. And so the title of this article is The Science Behind Why You Suddenly Have Fewer Fucks to Give. And
My favorite.
it's
Wait, what?
You've not heard this? 0 fucks to give?
the
No.
science behind why you suddenly have fewer fucks to give. And so I think a good line from it that sort of summarizes her article, it says, "Welcome to what I call the Great Unfucking. The point in midlife when your capacity to pretend, perform, and please others starts shorting out like an electrical system that's finally had enough."
This is totally where I am in life.
That's funny.
So I wanted to talk to you because it's interesting. So it goes on to talk about how, like, in early life of women, because we have such high oxytocin and is it estrogen? I think it's estrogen and oxytocin, how those hormones, like,
Make us care.
yes, exactly. Like make you in that care state and make you like worried about what people think and how you respond and all that sort of thing. But that it is not sustainable to live an entire life like that because it's exhausting work. And so, yeah, they say Dr. Luann Brizendine, a psychiatrist and the author of The Female Brain, explains that women's brains are particularly wired for social harmony and caregiving in the first half of life, driven partly by estrogen and oxytocin. But as estrogen levels shift in perimenopause and beyond, this intense drive to please and nurture begins to diminish. So, yeah, I'm curious to know how many of you have entered your great unfucking stage of life.
Maybe that's why I had such a big switch, because I have no estrogen in my frickin' body thanks to my letrozole. So, because I noticed, like, I told my husband, all of a sudden, I was like, I could give a fuck about anything anymore. I could care about what I wear. I could care about how I look. Although I was complaining about I need a facelift. But still, I totally am in this era of my life, and maybe it's because I have no estrogen in my body.
That is so interesting.
Isn't it
It
interesting?
is.
So it says all of this shifts when your hormones change in midlife. After thousands of interactions where you've monitored and managed your authentic social responses, something in your system starts breaking down. Not because you're broken, but because the system was never meant to run this way indefinitely. And so they go on to talk about all these changes that happen in our brain and what the effects of estrogen and all that sort of stuff does, and how you know, start to prioritize the things that you truly want to exert your energy on and stop caring about things that you don't want to care about. And how, you know, sometimes in society people are like, oh, what happened to you? You've changed or you've become cranky or mean, but that like you're actually becoming your authentic self because you now are responding in the way you would have always responded if you weren't trying to please other people.
Wow, that's interesting.
I'm even to the point when I go to baby showers, wedding showers, I feel like I'm the old person now. I don't have to dress up anymore.
T-shirts.
Yep. See, it says when you lose your filter, that's when the really good stuff comes in. And so they go to say you gain authenticity, because what's it say? This might feel harsh because authentic humans have sharp edges, they have opinions, they have boundaries. You gain time because all that energy you spent managing everyone else's experience, that's now available for literally anything else. You gain clarity. When you stop cushioning every truth, reality becomes clearer. You gain real relationships. Transactional relationships end when you stop people pleasing. What remains are connections based on who you actually are.
I feel like they studied me.
I was going to say, I feel like it's just nice to know there's science behind it, is what it comes
It's
down
fascinating
to.
that
And
there's
it's a real
science
thing.
behind it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about, have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror before you run to the store and you're like, holy shit, I have hit this new level of like the way I am willing to go out in public now is like completely would have been not even remotely acceptable to me like 10 years ago. And now I'm like, I just don't care. I don't care. Please, Lord, don't let me see anybody. I don't care.
I did it yesterday. I was in the car, right? And you can't fix shit once you're in the car. And I looked in the mirror and I went,
Except it
"Oh
is
my
a good
God."
place to get those chin hairs.
I'll do that sometimes at work. Like I'll catch a glimpse as I walk by in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I left the house like this. I maybe should have tried harder.
Well, actually, you, Carrie, no, Carrie was different because you didn't have hormone, but you and Katie, where they're messing with your hormones, then to the point of the article, I think you are recognizing that when you lose that estrogen, then you're just like
Who the hell cares?
you're saying.
And I always thought that maybe it was the cancer itself that did that. Like, having cancer sort of shifts your perspective of like, none of this shit matters. It's not that big of a deal. But maybe it is. Maybe it's the hormones, not the cancer.
I was going to say, I think a lot of these things are multivariate, right? And I do think there are different things that play into the actual result. But it certainly makes sense based on everything you hear about hormones and their ability to make you kind of happy versus, you know, neutral on everything, right? I also think this is a little bit generational too. And, I don't intend to keep going back to it, but I think it's interesting because I'm going to work right now, a lot of younger people, and I would tell you, I think about how I look when I go to work very differently than they do, right? These nurses who, God love them, they work really hard, right? But they got their hair up. They look like they totally rolled out of bed, put a thing in their hair, and they came in. And that's not to downplay anything, right? I'm sure they're all living tough lives. They're all younger. I'm sure they got kids. It's crazy. But here I am, you know, is this acceptable? Should I wear this? Should I really wear this t-shirt or do I have to get something different? It's just in my head that I have to think about these things. I guarantee you not one of those people's waking up thinking about those things. They're putting on their white stuff and they're going to work. You know what I mean? So I do think there's maybe a little component of, again, I'm like a rule follower too, which is a big problem. But I think there's a component of what am I supposed to be doing, right?
But
You're
I
right.
can
I'm
tell
sure
you,
you're right.
even working in an office now, although I work from home, there's still times where I have to go in the office. Where I work was always sort of business casual, right? So there was a much more casual dress code than
Relaxed.
maybe traditional
Yeah.
standard dress code. However, even the more dressed up folks have a fairly, the new thing is like tennis shoes to work, right? Like that would have been like not a thing. People wear tennis and it's perfectly acceptable, right? You got your tennis shoes with, maybe you've got like a jacket, but you've got your tennis shoes on. So I do think, I don't know, I think COVID did something where people were stuck at home and stuck being comfortable, and it's like there's this, I don't know, this
Is
realization
it
that it's not
COVID though, or is
comfy.
it just like the shifts? Because like that's what these young kids wear these days. Like like when we went to the club, we were in like our high heels no matter what,
No,
and
I
your
know.
dresses and your stuff. And like these kids now go in their wide leg jeans and a hoodie and
Kate,
they're
they're not going to the club.
okay,
No.
but wherever they're going, the coffee house,
They're
they're
not
not
going to the
like,
club. Thank
well,
God we got to go to the club.
they're
Thank
missing
God.
out. Those were great years of life. They
So
really
missing
were.
out. So
Well, look
missing
I
how
out.
many
still
of this younger generation go shopping in their pajamas.
So to bring it back to Katie's article, this is interesting. So really, to the point, is it estrogen and is it a physiological response, or to Kim's point, it's generational and people are just naturally becoming more who gives a fuck and living their lives and doing their things. So it is interesting, which and it could be both of those.
I
Could
would
be
say
both
I
of
think
those.
there's a thing of both, but I do think there's just something that happens as you get older. Like and it's true when you're younger and you're, trying to attract a spouse or you're trying to like you
Yeah.
have to get dressed and
Step up
go
your
out
game a
there and
bit.
kind of put on your best foot forward. And now, like, as you get older, you start caring. And so I think they
But it,
wrap it up well. Talk about this being, sorry, Karen, I didn't mean to cut you off.
you're fine.
But it talks about this being the ultimate gift. And so it says you're learning to exist as yourself regardless of external validation. This is spiritual work. The woman who can say that's not accurate, because it starts this article by saying, like, you're in a business meeting and someone says something where back in the day you would like cautiously be like, I'm not sure if that's true, and they're like, and now you're just sitting there like, that's not accurate. No apologies. No, sorry, nothing like that. You just say it. And so suddenly people are looking at you. So, anyways, they say that's not accurate without apologizing is the same woman who can eventually face her mortality without flinching. So, when someone says you've changed, when they say you're not the person you used to be, when they imply something's wrong with you now, you've changed into someone who's no longer available for performance. And that's not difficult, that's development.
That's me. That's me.
I think
You
it's also
all should try.
interesting to think about like the evolution of man and the way science has impacted, because you think back to early settlers, like you were getting married and having babies at 14 and 15 years old. That's when all of your hormones are like their highest, and people didn't live much beyond their 40s and 50s. So now that we do, it's interesting to see how that shift in hormones that naturally happens is just impacting our lives, not just as women, but men experience the same thing,
Yeah.
Oh my God, but so much less horrifically than we do. Seriously. No.
My favorite takeaway from that
Yes.
Huh?
No, I'm just agreeing with Carrie. Yes.
I didn't say. But my favorite takeaway from that article was the title, The Great Unfucking, and I will continue to use that term for the rest of my life.
That's a good description of how I felt the last year. Yeah, I like it.
Well,
Isn't there a book? Isn't there
No,
a
there-
book something about that?
No, well, there's a book
don't
called Unfuck Yourself, but there's also the girl on social media who started the We Do Not Care Club. She's like a comedian or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
She's hysterical. She's got her shower
Yeah.
cap on. She's got like her
Yeah, you said
bathrobe
that. Like,
on. She
glasses.
pulls out. Yeah, it's amazing because it's so true.
I think her name's Melanie. She's hilarious.
But even
She
in your
is funny.
article, when it talks about how you have more time and stuff, I totally see that too. Because I do have a lot more time because I just don't care. It's very interesting.
say more,
You're
though,
not
Kath.
raising kids anymore.
Well,
like I don't care
Yeah.
about putting makeup on. I don't have to put a full
Ah.
makeup on, so I just slap on some mascara or something, and I go out the door. It's
I
like,
hope you don't slap it on, but
some days I do.
Well,
'cause
I do
sometimes it's
think
under
as
there.
you get older, but as you get older, you don't. I mean, less makeup actually looks better as you get older. Like that changes too, because I
Mhm.
mean, skin changes. How makeup sits on your face changes. It all changes. So,
But I do
yes,
think
it
you have
does.
such a different perspective, right? As life goes on, based on what you've experienced, to know this is not something to put my energy in, so I don't care, right? Because
Right.
I've done it before to virtually no different outcomes, so why should I be worrying about it, right?
Mhm.
And that's just like an ongoing evolvement based on what you've gone through, right? So I guess I go back to there's a lot of things that probably influence this, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
not minimizing hormones because I'm sure it's a big one, especially if you're younger, right?
Yeah. Well, here, Cass. So Ellen, wherever Ellen lives, I need to track her down. It sounds like her and I could spend some good time together. Uh, but they talk about how to navigate this transition. And so it says, if you're in the thick of this shift, here's what helps. And so they say, name what's happening. So tell yourself, I'm not becoming difficult, I'm becoming authentic. My brain is reorganizing around honesty instead of performance. Expect resistance. When you stop over functioning in relationships and systems, others will push back. This isn't evidence you're doing something wrong. It's evidence you were doing too much before.
Mhm.
Practice the pause. You don't have to swing from people pleasing to brutal honesty overnight. Notice when you're about to soften, cushion, apologize unnecessarily. Pause. Choose consciously whether to add the cushioning or not. And find your people. Other women are going through the same shift. They're tired of pretending to. These relationships will feel different, less performative, more substantial. And grieve if you need to. There's loss here as well. Loss of approval, loss of being liked by everyone, loss of your identity as the nice one, loss of a perfect life you sacrificed yourself to maintain. This grief is legitimate even as the change is ultimately positive. I don't feel grief.
I was going to say I don't feel any grief. I feel like relief.
Either.
Like, oh,
Yes, I would agree.
I've arrived.
Yes.
That was great, Katie. That was a great article.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was
You
my
said
article.
you said Kathy, you said you do feel like you've arrived.
No, I don't feel like I'm grieving, like I've lost something. I just feel like
I feel
almost
like
like
it
a
feels
relief.
more like a date. Right.
Like I don't
Okay.
got to worry about
Okay.
this
Well,
shit no more
a
because I
lot
don't
of
care.
women say that. I think a
Right,
lot
I
of
got it.
women, I've seen a lot of women say when they get to like this middle age point that it's almost like even women that talk about like, oh, men used to look at me, now they don't look at me, now I'm invisible. And it's almost a relief. Like I read that a lot where women
It's
will
like,
say
who the hell cares? Because let me tell you, the
Yeah,
older
like
men
it's
don't look
just a
very good.
relief. Well, that's a whole
Well,
other
and it
thing.
comes back to like when you were younger and you would get all dressed up and get made up and go out. Like, who were you doing that for? Were you actually doing that for you because that's what you wanted to do? Or were you doing it for the people who you were going to be meeting and seeing and
Oh,
like
yeah,
potentially developing
100%.
relationships with? Like, what was the real intention behind that? So, anyways, I thought it was very interesting.
So let's throw in plastic surgery then, because that usually starts more aggressively in your middle years. Who are you
For
doing
sure.
that for? You know?
Oh,
Mm.
like I think it's totally. I think if nobody else
I
was
think it
getting plastic
depends.
surgery, other women wouldn't be, like. But I
Right.
get it. It's hard to look in the mirror and be like, "Holy shit! Like, what's
Oh,
happening?"
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
that's
what I was
why.
gonna say. I feel like you probably have both. Like you probably have people who absolutely are doing it for the attention you get from others, but then I'm sure you have the people who are doing it because at the end of the day it makes them feel better about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if you look at the Hollywood people, they have to do it for their job. Because I was amazed when I saw the interview with Kate Hudson for that movie she just did, and how she gained all this weight for it. She stopped seeing her skin lady for months, and how different she looked. But she looked like a normal middle-aged woman, which was nice to see her in that movie that way, and to say, yeah, that gorgeous Kate Hudson, when she's in her glamour state, is a beautiful woman, but look, she can also be this.
Mm-hmm.
Because
For
she's
sure.
lost all the weight, and she obviously went to her skin lady, because I saw her recently at the awards show, and I was like, oh, she's back to Kate.
And I think there's a difference with like, listen, I don't, I've tried Botox once or twice, and I don't know. It's good. I think it helps, but I don't know that it's not gonna keep you from getting old. You
Right.
know, like it's not,
Right.
you're just fighting the inevitable. And
Uh-huh.
then you see people that take it so far where it's like, whoa.
I've even thought about, right? You should maybe get some Botox or, I'm like, I don't want people not to know who I am because of some wacky thing I did.
You know what I think
It's
is interesting though is how young some of these girls are starting these days
Oh,
because
yeah.
I worked with girls in their 20s who are already got their hair extensions, their Botox, and they look
How are they
older.
affording it? How are they
Yeah.
affording it? Can somebody
I don't
tell
know,
me?
but they are. But,
Like,
like, I'm sorry, you're 25 and to me you look 35 because, like, it just changes, like, you can't move your
yeah,
face, you don't
yeah.
look like you don't have that natural, young, youthful I don't know. I'm not a fan of them doing it when they're younger because I think if you're out there doing it, girls, I'm sorry, but it's making you look older than you are. You should cut it out.
Well, and not to go down a rabbit hole like we like to do, but the lip thing just sends me right over the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Who thinks duck
injection?
The
lips
lips
is
are
a good
so
look?
I
bad.
would like some upper lip injection,
I would love upper
honestly.
lip
Listen,
too, but
bottom
come
line is
on.
duck lips look
Yeah,
ridiculous.
look at some of these Hollywood people that have had it done, and all it did is mess up their lips.
I know some really, really pretty girls that were pretty before, and they just really, I don't know what they're trying to achieve because,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't understand. What was that meme that went around on social media? The Janice from the Muppets. It's
Oh,
like, who knew that every girl was going to be aspiring to look like Janice from the Muppets with the eyelashes and the lips
the big
and
lips.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you can be your authentic self, whatever makes you happy. It's just I don't understand it.
I have to say though, as
Well,
somebody who grew up with older siblings, like that was something that I always looked up to about my sisters is like there was never I don't know, I felt like you all aged very comfortably, like there wasn't this like emphasis on, oh, I have to, do this or do yeah, we would joke around about who doesn't joke around about like, getting plastic surgery. Um but
goodness.
Yeah, we were
And
just talking
yeah.
about
yeah,
this.
I mean, yeah, we would, I mean, maybe if one of us married a plastic surgeon, it'd be a different story. I don't know, but 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 there's something, I think you see like daughters and siblings, they see that and they think that's normal or that so I think it's like about seeing role models that are comfortable in their own skin too. I think that
Well, and
is
I think that's the shift with social media is like, growing up, we only had the people around us. Now these young girls have all these social media stars and this stuff that's not real and that's what they want to look like and it's just not reality. But Kathy, you're up next. Tell us what your article is about.
Well, my article is going to jump to medical and the science and how everyone is afraid of AI.
Oh.
So my article talks about brainwaves could help paralyzed patients move again.
Hmm.
And it talks about how, like, right now they're implanting stuff in people's brains. So where AI works with them, all they have to think of is like move your right leg, move your left leg, and they're moving their legs because they bypass the injured part. Yeah, so if they just think about it, their body's going to do it because their nerves up here are working and their nerves below the injury are working, but it's just where it was injured that's not working. So they bypass that.
These are like spinal cord injuries?
Yeah. So people are actually walking now. I mean, they're not walking great, but they're actually standing up and they're walking with the parallel bars or they're walking holding on to somebody just by thinking about it. A different level where doctors are now studying where if you hook up EEG gauges in a hat, put the hat on a person, it's working doing it that way also.
That's awesome. I think it's awesome. You know me, I'm pro AI. I am pro AI.
Yeah, well, the amazing part of this is then they don't have to go into your brain and put little electrodes into your brain. You can just put a hat on and it's reading through your brain waves, telling your spinal cord what to do when you think about it, and it's actually working.
So when someone's paralyzed, is it like a disconnection between the brain, like something severed between the, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
got it.
And they find if they're overriding it with these electrodes and stuff that, or if
That
it can
message.
communicate, like if your brain can communicate with those nerves down below to say, take a step, take a step, take a step, it's starting to work.
I wonder if it's an override or like a new neural pathway or something.
I
It's
mean, I
interesting,
think
though.
there's a
I
lot of
read something
potential
similar
for,
like that. It was very interesting.
My article's in
I
Science and News if anyone wants to read it. It's called Brainwaves Could Help Paralyzed Patients Move Again. It's at the American Institute of Physics.
I am all for AI doing things like that.
I agree.
Me too.
I agree.
Say some of the other AI things I am not for,
Mm-hmm.
but that is pretty amazing. And for the people it could potentially help, what a gift.
Well, that's what I feel like. AI scares you so much one way, but then you see this and you're like, oh, but it could really help people too.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
think
with
it's like
any evolution, right? There's
yeah.
the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say it's like the internet. I mean, look at how the internet has opened up so many possibilities, but then you've got the dark web and all these people who are getting scammed and this and that,
Right.
I don't understand why humanity can't just take the good of something and live with it. Why we always have to spin it to the other side as well. I guess it's the two polar opposites of life,
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
it's like Kathy's. Did anyone watch what she sent about the self-checkout scanners?
Yeah.
I didn't say watching that video. And I
Mhm.
mean, not that I have anything to, hide, but it was very fascinating to me. Kathy had sent all of us sisters a post, article, something that talks about self-checkout scanners at stores and how they actually have very sophisticated security features, and by using AI, tracks you as a person and your habits and your purchase history, and that people who think they might be able to get away with stealing, in reality they know what you're taking, but they're not worried about small misdemeanors. They wait until you get up to a felony charge and then they come after you, and just all this information gathering that it's constantly doing every time you use a self-checkout. But yeah, I mean, I get it, and you see your camera right there, like you've got your face right there, is there, so I was like,
We were at the store the other day and I kept telling Bill, we're not going through that self-checkout. We're not going through that self
But in
checkout.
reality, I mean, they might not have the camera on your face, but I feel like they're probably doing the same exact stuff through the regular checkout too.
Yes.
Oh no,
I
at
would agree.
Walmart, your face is on the screen there at Walmart if you do self checkout. So they for sure are getting your
Mhm.
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and I mean, don't kid yourselves, right? Any collector of data is going to be used forever going forward, right? Because that is the food for AI.
Yep.
So any collector of data is going to be taken advantage of to try and get smarter or develop new ways to, influence, impact, evolve, diagnose, whatever the outcome is, right? Data is going to be what does it. And, once people recognize or are made aware of how they use data, they can influence the data that they put out there, right?
Right.
And it creates that's where you get the outcomes of
Mhm.
incorrect,
Yes.
conclusions and
Yes.
and misfired training, etc. So, you know, it people are like, why don't they do something about this? This is so complex. It is not like you can just say, all right, we're going to govern it in this way because there are so many considerations. The complexity is like nothing we've ever seen. And it moves so quickly that, you know, even what I would call benign data that really doesn't have any kind of impactful outcomes was not ready to be used in the way that we're using it. It's literally what I would describe as ungoverned. So, in order to be really effective with AI, you know exactly what you're pulling, you know the characteristics of that data, you know where it came from, you know how reliable it is. That's called data governance, right? You govern that data. But if you're using anything before people really started to govern data, it's the wild frickin' West. You don't know where it came from. You don't know how reliable it is. You don't know anything about it, but you're slamming it into your AI and it's generating outcomes that, are suspect at best. So this is not something we could fix like that. It's evolving way faster than we can. And fix is probably not the right word, but create an infrastructure for. It's moving way too fast for us to do that.
It gives me so much anxiety.
And using a lot of our energy.
Yeah, I mean, you got to step back and just realize it's out of your control.
I know it
Right.
is, but it's just so scary to think of where our world is heading. And then I
Well,
was listening to I think the government, some, like international meeting, and they were talking about AI. And then they were talking about, Chris, you probably know this, like whatever, like super AI, where it actually gets more intelligent than we are and trying to. I was like, oh God, I got to turn this off. I can't listen to it.
But what I would say to that, Katie, is that I understand when it gets overwhelming. Absolutely, you have to turn it off because you have to protect this. Okay, you have to protect this. And I would say that your best defense, not defense. I don't want to use defense, but just become knowledgeable. Just become aware. Just start to understand what is it. How what. Just start to become aware
Yeah.
and balancing of, okay, I need to turn this off. Because to Kim's point, it is so massive. And even more than that is that Kim said too, is that it is progressing and changing and growing so quickly that it's taken off and it's here. And I really believe, and again, to Kathy's point of the article, um, that it can do good. It can be helpful to humanity. I saw an article similar to Kathy's, but it was talking about breast cancer, which is relevant to all of us, and how AI is helping you detect the tissue in your breast so much earlier than an MRI could. So it's giving people an opportunity to maybe not get to stage 3 or maybe not even get to stage 1. So I think um, there has to be a recognition of of technology isn't bad. It's how it's being used. And there's good, and to Kelly's point, and there's bad. And that's just the nature of humanity right now for whatever.
Right. It's always been.
Nature of humanity. It's just much
Yep.
more.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
I just think
Maybe.
we have more access to the nature of humanity now, whereas before we didn't. We didn't know
For
what
sure.
went on. Now we know what goes on.
For sure.
I have so
For
much
sure.
I could say, and I'm going to hold back.
Yes.
That could be for a different episode, Care. Different
Yeah,
episode.
that could be. That could be. But to Kathy's point, I mean, I've always been a Star Trek lover, and I always believe in the evolution and the possibility of where human beings could go, and the fact that we could use AI to help circumvent some of this stuff and make people have those connections again and have health and healing. I think that's phenomenal. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and this is not unique, right? I mean, 100 years ago when they were doing experiments and finding, evolutions in medical care
Like
and
the industrial
right. So
evolution, and yeah.
this is really, just another phase of that. But,
And I feel like we just had one, like the internet, and that was like a revolution. Like, come on, let's slow down. All right, guys. Well, today you got to hear 3 out of our 6 interesting articles. We'll definitely be coming back again so that our other 3 sisters will have a chance to share what they have found. We're just scratching the surface here. We appreciate each of you who continue to tune in and listen and coming back every week. Share us with a friend if you think you know someone who might enjoy hearing us banter back and forth. We really appreciate all of you who are out there going through this journey with us. So, to everyone, hopefully, pending life, we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Have a good one.
Thanks for hanging with the sisters. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the love, because every story sounds better on 6Ks and a mic.